Thanks for joining me today at InvestorIdeas.com Cleantech and Climate Change podcast, looking at today's problems and solutions for the future. I'm your host, Dawn Van Zandt, founder of InvestorIdeas.com, and hoping to share our way of making a difference in climate change. Good morning. Today I'm talking to Lloyd Spencer, president of Deep Green Waste Recycling Inc., trading on the OTC DGWR, a sustainable waste and recycle management services company. Lloyd shares how his background in tech has inspired him to look for innovative technology, including AI, to transform the sector and make it more efficient. Lloyd, thanks for joining me today. For listeners that are unfamiliar with your background and your story, can you talk about your past experience in tech and science and what led you to Green Waste and Recycling Inc. and where you're at today?
You betcha. So first, my background in science goes all the way back to Cornell University, where I was in the biological sciences and microbiology and immunology. So some aspects of my background there have actually come to play, as we'll talk about with Deep Green. But also, as I transitioned over into computer science and telecommunications, when I was at Hewlett-Packard and Sun, Newbridge Networks, and Microsoft, my background in software and hardware really matured over those years. And those, especially in the embedded software and hardware space, my background is especially relevant to how Deep Green is going to benefit and improve upon the waste management and recycle management industry and services area. But last, even my background over at CoreAware with robotics and Internet of Things plays directly into the waste management, recycle management, because Internet of Things is used to monitor some of the compactor and other waste storage devices, so you can know that when your system is ready to have your waste and recycling picked up, it's way more efficient than today's model where your service provider comes 2 or 3 days a week, whether it's overflowing or whether it's empty, it doesn't matter. So by using some of these technologies and coupling that with, I'll call it old technology of waste and recycling, you can increase the profitability of the service you're delivering, and you can also reduce the cost of the service to customers. So there's considerable benefit of these technology areas that I've worked on and will be bringing to Deep Green Waste and Recycling.
That's exciting. I actually haven't really read or heard a lot about AI applications for waste management, so that's a very exciting new area to talk about in the future.
It is.
So for investors looking at your history of your company, can you give us some background leading up to your most recent news? Very exciting news on the effectiveness of your Form S1, and also your plans to acquire commercial waste and recycling companies in the future.
Right. Yeah, so Deep Green Waste and Recycling had a actually thriving business all the way up through 2018, but one of the things I've learned about business is that it really takes a combination of the business itself and the experience that people bring to bear and the services that they can deliver. In fact, they were operating 34 states up through August of 2018. You can have great customers, but sometimes the investor base that you're working with is not the ideal partner to work with. And that's exactly what happened here. So when Deep Green Waste and Recycling ceased operations in 2018, it gave Bill Edmonds a chance to reorganize the company and get it ready to come back with a better investor partner to work with in the future. And that really brought to the forefront as to what kind of investment vehicle to work with. And the one that Bill and I talked about early on was the use of the SEC Form S1 to go ahead and to use that vehicle to recapitalize the company starting in 2020. So we began the effort as early as December, I think it was. We worked on the business plan. We worked on taking all the financials for the past 2 years, reorganized all that information, and then in March we finally put together the first S1. We had a couple of amendments that went by, and then finally just went effective this really weeks ago. And one of the great benefits of this was we were able to bring in an early investor to help us get the company bootstrapped. And in fact, we're looking forward to working with this investor to help us to fund the acquisition of companies moving forward. And I think that brings forth the key question that you were just asking, which was about the acquisitions themselves. And some of the acquisitions are going to be what people would call traditional, recycling and waste management kind of companies. And so we're looking towards acquiring profitable companies, companies that are already in the business, have been in the business for as many as 20 years. So we're finding a community of private companies that have been in this business for many years, some in the construction business, what they call the roll-off business, some who service malls, some who do food wastes, so some who do metal wastes. So what we're looking at is any number of companies that have experience as being waste haulers, recyclers. These are the basic businesses that we're looking to bring into the company to start with. Looking forward beyond that, we're also looking at how we can build partnerships with companies that are doing some unique things in recycling, like plastics recycling and food waste recycling. Those would be some of the more unique and targeted areas that we're looking to grow in. But it'll always start with looking for those companies that are profitable today and are able to help us grow the company and benefit the shareholders so that they can grow with the company as well.
And without getting into specifics or forward-looking statements, looking at the kind of target acquisitions you're doing some due diligence on right now, what is a realistic time frame for investors to kind of see this plan roll out?
Right. Well, we're certainly looking at doing, let me start by saying we are right now already talking with quite a few companies. And as I mentioned, we're looking at companies that are profitable, they have a long history with long-term customers, and they have excellent recurring revenues. So that being said, we're looking at having the first acquisitions happen within the coming months. So this is not I don't want to qualify it exactly how many months, but in the short number of months. And to do that, we have the team with Dave Bradford and Bill Edmonds. We have an excellent process for vetting these companies, for looking at how the companies have grown, to look at their gross margin, look at the net profit, and to work with our investment partners to look at how much capital we need to bring that, and looking at the use of things like equity line of credit to help us set aside the funds for those companies. So I don't want to say exactly how many months, but it's going to be the short number of months. And I will certainly say that all the companies we're looking at, they already are in the business today, and we're looking at maximizing the synergy between these companies so that we can even look at the companies coming together, streamline their workflow, their reporting systems, their billing systems. Most critical is the billing systems, and to help them grow all together and with us as well.
And as you said earlier, your company has been pretty quiet since 2018. Ceasing operations.
Yes.
With COVID-19, the one positive thing that's come out of it, I think the biggest positive out of it is this surge in investor interest in ESG, anything that's ESG from retail to institutional. With your new investor coming on board, was that part of it? Is it a strategic timing partnership? Is this really in alignment with the future of ESG investing, or was just coincidence and timing?
Well, with everything, there's always a little bit of strategy, a little bit of planning, and a lot of bit of luck.
Yeah.
What I certainly can say is that all of us, Bill, Dave, and I, we from day one said we wanted to build a company that's providing sustainable waste and recycle management services, so that we can take the key learnings that Bill and Dave had. But now what we're seeing is that a renewed interest and a growing interest in more, how should I say, a more innovative approach to looking at recycling. So, for example, in the food waste area, food waste has always been an area that some did their own little bit of research on and tried to figure it out as a customer, but we're going to be looking at how we can be very efficient at working with our customers and finding the right destinations for either plastics or electronic waste, food waste, and even down the path, we'll even look at hazardous waste as time goes on. So the partnerships, even with universities, that's another, I think the technologies and the research have also moved ahead during the past, I'd say, 5 years, and we're going to be looking at those universities that are doing research into plastics recycling, into repurposing plastics into other products, and that was a more difficult area in terms of research and in terms of the practical realities of recycling these plastics. And it's becoming more practical, more affordable because the technologies have shifted. And that'll be a key area that we'll be looking at. And I think it will differentiate us from some of the traditional waste management companies that people are familiar with. And in terms of the, I was going to say, and in terms of the investment funds, years ago, there were very few investment funds that were looking at how to pursue I'll call it the green technologies. And there's been a great resurgence of interest. And I think you mentioned at one point about millennials, that they have a great interest in this. And I think they will end up being some of the key drivers in how that investment gets directed in the future.
Absolutely. And again, when you look traditionally at waste and recycling, it's kind of, like you said, an old way of doing things, but a very necessary part of the whole environmental picture. I really do like the fact that you're looking at innovative technologies and bringing it into this era. I think that will put you on the map and people will look at you very differently just from that itself. To give some kind of scope of the global market opportunities, do you have any numbers or do you have any idea of what this market opportunity looks like? And when you're looking globally, are you going to just focus on North America to begin with, or what is your plan? Is as you roll this out?
Yeah, we're initially looking at North America, and I can tell you that I'll call it the market that we're looking at right now is in the commercial, in the institutional, the multifamily properties in the United States. And there are over 200,000 of those companies and properties in the United States. So it's a very large marketplace, and they are served by many of the traditional waste management type of companies. When I have talked with a few of them about that, we're looking at being a little, I'll call it smart waste technology, of taking the waste that they have, segregating those out, and then being a little more innovative on how we bring those waste products to the different recyclers. So whether it's going to be in plastics, they're looking at recycling it differently, or many other wastes. That'll be one of the ways that we're going to differentiate, is by being looking at sustainable recycling. So not just taking recycled materials and putting them in landfills like some companies do, but instead really taking the recycled materials and then taking them to the recyclers that are being more innovative about doing that. When I talked about the 200,000 commercial properties, about 30% of those our shopping malls and centers. And they have been affected by COVID, but they are starting to now come back. So we see that as a market that's going to be coming back and growing again. So we look at this as a market that always needs to watch its bottom line and is always looking at costs. So when I mentioned about using Internet of Things and using, I'll call it artificial intelligence-like technologies to make smart decisions about when you come to pick things up and when is the most optimal time, it does help them save money, which is an incredibly important criteria, especially during this COVID period.
And there is a massive growing audience of investors, both millennials and then my generation, that we've watched this come and go a few times, and got all excited about it and thought this was its era, and then we see it get passed and put aside for fossil fuels. But I truly believe, and I think I have to believe, that this time it's for real, because I think we've had some climate change crisis with the fires in Australia and some things that have happened that have been a huge wake-up call. And now COVID-19, just seeing that when you allow the planet to heal, it does. It actually can and will. Yes. So I think that was a really beautiful thing to see, and hopefully, again, a wake-up call for everyone that we can fix this. So with that, and you've got all these people, all generations, willing to support companies like yours. What is your closing message for them to really know and get to know you personally and this company and why they should follow you?
Yeah, I think what's going to be different about deep green waste and recycling is we really are looking at the sustainable waste and recycle management services. We're looking at looking at the waste streams and the methods of disposal, really trying at all costs to avoid the landfills, to find ways to bring those to the appropriate recycling centers. It's a difficult thing to do, but it's exactly what customers are asking for. Just in the world of plastics, which is, I think, a sensitive point for everybody now. As it turns out, there's a lot of research going on now into the use of microbial digestion of plastics. That won't be something that Deep Green does initially, but we're going to be finding those partners that are looking at doing that exactly, and then bringing those wastes to those recyclers. The same goes with food waste. Instead of food waste going straight into the landfill, there are ways you can bring food waste to companies that are doing waste digestion and generating energy from that. Those are the key things we'll be looking at and doing differently than how most waste companies have worked, or waste and recycling companies worked in the past. My background is always, whether I was over at Sun Microsystems or Microsoft, Newbridge, and Coreware, I've always been working with universities and finding where the cutting edge research is, and finding those researchers and finding opportunities to help them find the right investor community so they can pursue startup opportunities. And then we can work with those companies to, again, bring those waste products to them so that they can go ahead and dispose of these things and recycle these products in the most innovative way. And that'll be one of the key differentiators that I think we do here is to find those innovative thinkers and to and help, as you put it, trying to make things better through more intelligent waste management, more intelligent recycling, and so we truly are looking for those investment funds that are looking at investing in green technology, and especially individual investors, and trying to give them a way to benefit from our growth.
And for retail investors, can you give them your website so they can find you?
You bet. So our website is at deepgreenwaste.com, and you can find us there. You'll find us on Twitter as well, and we do look forward to questions and comments that come from investors and customers.
That's great. I look forward very soon to a follow-up and see what you've accomplished in terms of due diligence and specific targets that you're looking at. So that, I think, will be the next evolution of this conversation, and I think investors can look forward to that.
And I look forward to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's it for today. Do something great for this beautiful planet each and every day. To hear more Cleantech podcasts, visit the Cleantech and Climate Change page on Investor Ideas. You can find it on our top template. Also, Investor Ideas has a lineup of other podcasts and themes, including the AII, the Crypto Corner, our cannabis podcast called Cannabis News and Stocks on the Move, rated one of the top investor podcasts in the sector, Play by Play, a podcast looking at sports and esports news, and Exploring Mining. To listen to any of our podcasts, visit our podcast page on Investor Ideas at investorideas.com/audio. And a reminder, you can hear our podcasts on Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Google Play Music, and most audio platforms available to you. If you like any of our podcasts, we would appreciate you recommending them or reviewing them on your audio platform. And to help you follow and track clean tech and renewable energy stocks, Investor Ideas has created a directory of publicly traded stocks in the sector. You can find that by going to our homepage, looking on the sidebar and looking at renewable energy and environmental themes, and you'll find our stock directories there. Investor Ideas does remind all of investors to read our disclaimers and disclosures on our site. You can find them at investorideas.com/about-disclaimer.asp. It is important to read these. And this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded that all investment involves risk and a possible loss of investment. Thank you again and have a great day. For disclosure purposes, Deep Green Waste Recycling is a paid monthly featured clean tech company on investorideas.com. Please visit our disclosure and disclaimer pages for more info.